So many people have asked me how to get started playing Greyhack. Not necessarily with user-made or publicly available tools, but just in general, how it was meant to be played. Like, how do you even get started? Some people can't even do the tutorial or don't even know that there is a tutorial. So I wanted to demonstrate what this looks like. Generally, I would recommend playing on multiplayer. That's where a lot of the fun happens. You might get hacked. That's fine. Just go ahead and reset. Don't get tied to your code. At least don't leave it inside the game. You can save your code, your most of your scripts outside of the game for safekeeping. But you might lose some money. That's okay. You can use crypto. So don't be afraid of multiplayer. Let it happen. Get got. It's okay. For testing purposes, I'm just going to use test for every field here. Use more secure information in multiplayer, that's for sure. Don't just use test. People can get you pretty quick with that. So this is the screen that you might see when you initially start your game. What you're going to want to do is first get online. So to get online, you got to use some command line utilities. Let's make this a little larger for ease of use. You can see that there are a number of Wi-Fi's available to me. I don't know the password for any of these though, so we have to figure out how to crack the password. The one that you're going to want to choose is likely the one with the strongest signal. That'll take the least time to crack. So we're going to use this user Valor OD3. I'm going to take a note of that off to the side. What is it? VALER? So OD3, just for safekeeping, just so I can see what's going on. Okay, the tools that you're going to want to use are, we have AirCrack, AirPlay, and AirMon. You're going to want to start with AirMon. By the way, everything that I'm covering right here is explained in Getting Started. You can go through the first steps and go through all of this yourself if you want. In fact, I'm going to have that up to the side just for the reference. So you're going to start with AirMon, and this explains how to use AirMon. So it says AirMon start WLAN 0. So let's do that. Okay, now we have monitor mode enabled for our WLAN 0 interface. Perfect. So now if we go back here, we can do IW list. Let's see what the arguments there is. We just specified the device name, so WLAN 0, and we can see all of the devices here. This is the one that we want to connect with. Let's go back here. Now we can do AirPlay. And then this is going to take the B SSID and the E SSID. So it's a good thing we ran IW list. So let's go ahead and run AirPlay -B. And then we're going to use the B SSID, which is this column here. So we're going to copy this. And then -E with the E SSID. And that's going to run for a little while. I'm going to pause the video here. I'll be right back when it's done. Okay, and once you think you have enough packets, this is sort of trial and error until you get some better tooling. But for now, this is sort of trial and error. The program won't stop on its own. You have to press and hold Control and then follow up with C. So Control C will cancel the script, and that's going to save this file.cap file. That file.cap, if you type ls, you can see is right here. This is, the capture of the network traffic that you'll be able to use in the following step, which is AirCrack. So we just type AirCrack and then we pass in the file name. So AirCrack file.cap. And that has found the password power. So let's go ahead and save this into our file. I'm actually going to save this file as wifi.txt so I can refer back to later. I might add more Wi-Fi here later so I can switch between the different networks just for safekeeping. Maybe I get tracked or something or traced and I can just swap networks real easily. Very helpful in multiplayer, a little less helpful in single player, still helpful nonetheless. So now we are able to get online. Let's verify this. Bam, we are online. We can access the web browser. We can see, those are multiplayer links. Sorry, I'm used to that. But if I can search for shop and we can see different shops that we can, shop at. So that is getting online. Now, if we go back to the first steps, now this says once you have access to the network, we recommend that you create an email account. Use the browser to find mail services. That is a great next step. In fact, the step you should take. So let's search for mail. We can see various different sites here. let's go ahead and start with, well, the top one. Why not? Go to Mail Services, and I'm going to select a username. Again, I'm just using test for everything. I recommend you choose a way stronger combination. But for demonstration purposes, now I have an email account. You can click this little play button to open up your email, or click this little over here and then go down to mail.exe. And you can see we've received an email from somebody saying that they're watching me. So now they're saying that they want the credentials for a given email address belonging to this user. And then it sort of gives us the rundown of what we need to do in order to make this happen. So let's go ahead and follow these steps. All right, first things first, let's go ahead and download this Decipher program. And a good place to put that would just be inside your bin folder. All right, let's go ahead and close this. Okay, and this says that you may need some legitimate tools, so I recommend you look into that for a shop on the net. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go back to the search. Let's go into the shop. Let's see what kind of programs that they offer. And then we go search for software. The software that this email is likely talking about would be this Nmap program. If we look in our terminal here, we can do ls-la and then type /bin. And we can see that in this list, we do not have an Nmap program. So let's go ahead and acquire Nmap. It is free, so we can click buy, and then we can store that in our bin folder and then hit save. Another way to acquire Nmap and many other programs would be through the code editor. What you do is you type code editor, or you just type code tab, and then -code Nmap. What this is going to do is generate the source code. You don't need to worry about the contents, but it's going to generate the source code for the Nmap command. And when we click build, we can then save this as we want to our bin folder, call this Nmap, and now we have Nmap. So with that downloaded, let's go ahead and use Nmap on this address right here. We can see that port 22 is open. Port 21 is open. We see that the machine connects to on these. All right, the next step is now we need to log in as our user. We don't have any real hack tools, and so what we should probably do is try to utilize something called social engineering. Social engineering is done through the email client right here. If you click create a new email, you have all of these different options. Many of these will interact with the administrator in some form or another. Specifically with login issues, if we pretend to be, who is this user? If we pretend to be this Aldous, then we can trick the administrator into sending us their password. And so if we have their password, we should be able to, assuming that this SSH machine connects to their computer, log in to their computer through this port using SSH. So let's go ahead and try that. I'm going to copy this user's first name, and then I'm going to log in issues. I'm going to say this is the first name that we're working with here, and then we need to know who to send it to. We need to send this to the administrator, so where do we get the administrator from? Well, that's what the command whois is for. So if we type whois, we can see the usage requires a public IP address. So we whois, give the IP that we used for Nmap, and this is going to return to us the domain name and the administrative contact, and then also the email address for that administrator. This is what we want right here. And I'm going to send this email. And actually, as I'm reading this, I'm realizing that we need to be using last names, not first names, so I'm going to cancel out of this. We're going to be using this name instead. And then we're going to be sending this to the administrator. Hit send, and then we get back, now we have their password. So we have their username and their password. Let's go ahead and see if we can SSH onto this computer. We know that port 22 is already open, so SSH should be running. Let's look at how to use SSH. We have the usage given to us. We have SSH, the username, the @ symbol, followed by the password, and then the IP address, and then optionally the port. It will default to 22. That is the default SSH port. Some networks will be using multiple ports for SSH, and so they won't all be 22. And then also for player networks, they might override it to not use 22 at all. So it is a good habit to specify the port. So let's go ahead and do that now. We SSH this user. If you're a little frustrated with the copying and pasting, a little tip is you can copy with Control-C and you can paste with Control-Shift-V. Same as Control-V, just add a shift to it and it works in the terminal. Let's go ahead and specify the IP address. And then the same is true with copy, Control-Shift-C, and then we can paste it. So we have SSH. We are now in their system. You can tell because this title bar changed color. It now has an IP address. So we are in their system, and if I type ls, we can see that there's a config file. Now, if we go back to our original email here, they were asking for the email credentials, the credentials for the email address belonging to this user. If we reply to this email with the regular password, they're going to say, yeah, you haven't completed the mission yet. We need email credentials. Email credentials, just like on our own machine here, I can give you an example. If I open up File Explorer, we go into config, we have this file mail.txt. This contains our email information. This is a hash, but if you dehash this, it will be, in my case, it'll just be test. But for this user here, it'll be their actual email password. So let's go ahead and step into config. If I type ls-la is nice because it gives you different details. We can see mail.txt now. So let's go ahead and look inside mail.txt. We can see this hash right here. So we know we want to use this decipher program. Is going to be helpful. We want to use decipher to get this to this credential. But I kind of want to exit this machine. I don't want to stay on it for too long. That is, somewhat suspicious to many administrators. So let's just go ahead and download this file and then disconnect. We can download this file using SCP. Now the usage for SCP in this case is SCP -D for download, and then we're going to download mail.txt. We are already in config. If you're not in config, it would be config/mail.txt. And I'm going to download this to my own computer. I'm going to put it in home. My username is test, and then I'm just going to say downloads. And that's going to download it to that folder. If I press enter, we see it downloaded. Let's verify. If I go into my downloads folder, we have mail.txt. And it is the correct details. So now we can go ahead and exit. We are no longer on that machine. The IP address disappeared from from this title bar here. That's good. So let's cd to downloads, and then we can run decipher because we put that in our bin, remember from earlier. And then we're going to pass the encrypted file. So we're going to do decipher mail.txt, and then I will be back when this progress bar finishes. Okay, so the progress bar is done. We have our password. Let's go ahead and copy that. That is the password to the email address. We can verify this. Let's go ahead and log in as a different email account. We're going to paste the password that we just got. And let's take the email from this file. And voila, we have the ability to log into their email. So this password is definitely what the person who emailed us from earlier wants. So let's go ahead and reply to them specifying the password we got. And they've given us an IP address. That's interesting. Let's go ahead and open up this IP address. What might it be? It's a hack shop. Okay, so we're officially a hacker now. We have access to different tools like Admin Monitor. We have Scan Router, and we have libraries like Metaexploit, librshell. Those will all be very, very helpful. But for now, this is the tutorial, so to speak, completed. In the next video, I'm going to look at how to hack and complete missions or early missions the way that the game's developer had intended, i.e. without any sort of externally made or player made tools. So thank you for watching. Happy hacking.